So first question, can you tell us a bit about your background? First of all, why the degree in marketing, and how did a stint in Rome come into that?
Yeah. So my went to college. I always knew I wanted to study business, and it wasn't until I got there, took some of my core classes, that I kind of found my passion for marketing. I do come from an entrepreneurial background with both my families owning their own businesses, so it just kind of made sense for me to enter the business field.
Mhm.
And then as far as how AUR came into the picture, is that I had opportunity through my university. Our president at the time, President Gervasi, studied abroad in Rome, and he wanted to provide some students from Quincy University a chance to do so. And so he provided us some scholarship money and some alumni donations, made it possible for us financially. And also, we are a small private liberal arts school, so the chance for, I think it was 6 of our students from the program to be able to go there was a big feat. And since then, we've actually had a couple other classes go to AUR and study abroad as well.
And did you have an option of choosing another university that was not AUR, or why did you choose AUR as a study abroad experience? Was there something in Italy? Just tell us a little bit about how you ended up, apart from this relationship between your university and AUR.
I would say personally, the choice for me to use AUR, it was just a perfect fit at the time. I was a Division II baseball player at my university, and so I couldn't really study abroad during the school year. And then when the opportunity came up to study at AUR, it was during the summer months, so there was no interference. So I was able to study abroad and get those credits, and also be able to, study abroad and go internationally.
Mm. And even though so if you did a summer study abroad period, then that's only a couple of months that you spent at AUR. But did that time abroad have any impact on the rest of your degree?
The opportunity for AUR was actually my first time traveling outside of North America. I mean, I've obviously traveled the United States and Mexico and Canada, but never internationally. So that's where I kind of fell in love with traveling, was by coming to Italy. So I've never been there before, never been to Rome. I've only read about it in the history books and seen it in movies. So I was really excited for that experience.
True. That's why we all end up here, I think.
Yeah.
So after you graduated, can you give us a little outline or a description of what happened after you graduated? First of all, in Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, how much time we got? I'm just kidding. I had quite the extensive progress or journey after graduating. So I went to school in Quincy University, which is in Quincy, Illinois, southern part of the state. And then 10 days after graduating, I had lined up an internship in Southern California. So I packed up all my stuff after graduating, went back home, then drove across the country to Southern California, where I started my internship for a company called, oh my gosh, Org Audio, which was on Shark Tank. I'm not sure if you guys have Shark Tank in Italy, but there's probably a different version of it. So I worked for a company that was in Shark Tank for Southern California, did that for 2 years. And then after that, I had the opportunity to go work and live in Israel. So then I picked up from Southern California and went to Israel, was there for altogether the program and the work contract was for like 6 months. So I ended up staying there for 8 months. And then after Israel, I actually started backpacking the Middle East, Europe, and South America. And then finally, after like a year of being abroad, I made back to Southern California and then went back to Chicago. I ended up working in Chicago for 2 more years before I actually landed my dream job in the travel industry. So who knew that coming to AUR and getting a taste of travel would lead me to Israel, all across Europe, and then back to Chicago. So that was quite the journey. And then once I entered the travel industry, I relocated to Dallas, Texas, where I currently am living right now. So that's just a little snippet. There's many more stories I could throw in there, depending on how much time you have. But
So Zach, when you got in touch, when you responded to our call for AUR stories, taking a look at your LinkedIn profile, I was a bit blown away because it's obvious you keep yourself very, very busy. So currently ongoing, you have your own consulting company, your role as customer development specialist at Power Home Remodeling, and you also give your time to the Dallas Stars Foundation, helping to raise money for the foundation and their associated charities. So how do you manage this? How do you manage to balance all of these commitments?
Great question, right? I don't know how I do it sometimes either. I would have to say that, like, from a very young age, just my work ethic, just I function, and maybe I'm wired a little bit differently, where I do better, where I have more things going on.
Mhm.
So, like you mentioned, currently I'm actually working for Power Home Remodeling. So I kind of picked it up during the pandemic, so started working there. And then also during the pandemic, I launched my own consulting company called Zach Klein Consulting. I found like a little niche in the market where there was a need for travel agency owners who are, you know, a little bit older in age and maybe not as familiar with social media and voicing their brand. So I took it upon myself that I had these extensive relationships with prior to the pandemic, working in the travel industry for about 3 years, that I really wanted to give back and help them out because during this time, you know, it's the companies and the brands that are putting their voice out there and getting out themselves out there are going to be the ones that are going to start to recover a little bit quicker once this is all over. And so I started social media, helping, marketing, consulting, and then I actually hired my good friend from back home in Chicago to help launch website build outs and email marketing. So that's kind of how Zach Klein Consulting came in. And then I know you also mentioned the Dallas Stars Foundation. So I have a passion for hockey. I've never played it, but I just love the sport. So I actually work for the Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars Foundation, it's where we help raise money for nonprofits and charities within the Dallas community by doing like 50-50 raffles and other things at the actual games. So hopefully there'll be hockey games coming back. And in addition, I also work for the Chicago Blackhawks whenever I am back home in Chicago. So I get my fix for hockey and also all these little side hustles.
So you mentioned a little bit about your Zach Klein Consulting. Have you always wanted to launch your own company, or was it something that just you saw the need and because of the pandemic, because of the year we're living in, you just responded to a need? Or was it something that you had already wanted for a while to be, well, the entrepreneur that you are now?
That's a great question. I would say just I've always kind of been an entrepreneur. I started off with a lemonade stands growing up and then shoveling snow as a kid in Chicago, making some money. And then I also, in my sophomore year of college, I actually launched a company with my two best friends from back home called JNZ Lighting. So just like you mentioned, like the opportunity kind of came up with the niche in the market, and just kind of during the pandemic, there was opportunity. I needed, you know, additional streams of income, and that was just one way for me to virtually to actually have another way to reach out to these travel agency owners and also to launch my own company. And like I said, it was kind of a blend of upbringing and just perfect timing. They say that what opportunity is where, or luck is where opportunity meets preparation. So it's just a mix of both of those.
So it didn't, I mean, because there probably aren't many people who would have had the courage to launch their own company during a pandemic, but you just felt that everything came together at the right time and you decided to go for it. Did you have any doubts about launching at the time that you did, or you just decided to go for it?
When people see like the risk, or where there's risk, there's opportunity, right? So like obviously during the pandemic, you have nothing to lose essentially, right? So you just go all in and hope for the best. If it doesn't work out, then you move on to something else. So like I said, it was a great opportunity and a good time. And I wasn't really nervous. It was actually brought to me by someone else, and I just kind of light bulb clicked, and I was like, all right, well, let's do this. And slowly started to figure it out.
That's wonderful. And so obviously, because you have extensive experience in the travel sector, and we're in Italy, and it's 2020. It's almost natural to ask you a couple of things. The first one would be, what do you think the future of the travel industry will be, given that things now are completely different from before? And then my second question would be, do you think that you went into the travel sector mostly spurred by your love for travel that was initiated internationally at AUR?
Yes, so let me start with the second part of that question. So like I had mentioned previously, I had never left North America prior to studying abroad at AUR. So AUR is where I definitely caught the travel bug. So I do have to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to travel and to like fall in love, not only with Italy, the beautiful country of Italy, but also many other countries. Currently I'm at 39 countries and 49 states, United States. So really excited about that. So yeah, the opportunity at AUR was kind of what got me into it. And I never envisioned working in the travel industry. And it wasn't even on my radar until I'd actually come back from my trip in 2016 that I actually can even consider working in industry. And it was actually just through a networking organization in Chicago that kind of led me to this opportunity to first start working with Palladium Hotel Group, and then working for the largest tour operator in North America with Apple Leisure Group. So that was just like a perfect fit and opportunity. And I was just really thankful and blessed to have that. And that's kind of what led me to the travel industry, and then obviously launching my consulting company, which deals with the travel industry as well. The first part of the question is, what is the future of the travel industry going to be? If I knew, like obviously if I had a crystal ball, then I would definitely wouldn't be sharing it right now. But it's definitely evolved, and it's going to change. And I feel like that we've gone so long without traveling that we appreciate it that much more. So I definitely think there's going to be a huge need and demand for it. As far as how it looks, is there's definitely going to be way more travel insurance purchased. Those terms are going to be, very important. And also the airlines, at least the United States, a lot of the major American airlines, like American Airlines, United, Delta, they've all been a little bit more flexible understanding as far as change fees. Because before, if you needed to change your dates or your time, you'd be charged for it. Now there's no change fees. And they're also doing some other things like, obviously like taking out the middle seats and just like, and the cleanliness of airplanes. So I think going forward, it's going to be the cleanest and most efficient possible. There's going to be some hiccups. Obviously the travel industry has gone through 9/11 and SARS and H1N1 and all these swine flu and like a bunch of these other pandemics, but this is definitely a big one that's going to shake up the industry for a while.
I want to know what's the one state you haven't been to?
Take a guess.
Alaska.
Bingo.
Oh my gosh.
I'm saving the best for last. Alaska is a little harder to get to, and I want to really spend a lot of time there and make it a big celebration for my 50th. Yeah. So really excited for that.
So if we jump from Alaska back to AUR, where it all began, let's say, what would be your standout memory from those months that you spent at AUR?
Well, I have many memories at AUR. I would definitely have to say one of the main highlights would be my art history of Rome class. And we spent 2 days in the classroom. Otherwise, the whole class was involved walking around the beautiful city of Rome and actually studying the art that we were studying in the classroom. So, we go to the Roman Colosseum, the Forum, the Roman Forum, the Pantheon, like all these beautiful, incredible buildings I've only read about in history books and seen in movies. And it was just like breathtaking that I was able to not only study abroad, but also get credits for walking around the city of Rome. And so that was definitely one of the biggest memories I had. Obviously, the people that I met and just walking around and being at campus is something that I'll never forget.
And have you stayed in touch with any of the people you met during your time here at AUR?
So during AUR, I think there was like 6 of us, like I mentioned, from my university. So I've stayed in touch with a couple of those students. But my roommate that I was placed with for my apartment, I actually keep in touch with him. And he was actually from a school called Salve Regina in Rhode Island. So I actually stayed in touch with him, and then his university, I actually made a lot of friends with them as well. So I actually went and visited them in Rhode Island during my senior year at university. So I went over there, went to Rhode Island, and got to hang out with all the people from AUR. So it was like a little AUR reunion, which was very nice.
And have you been back to Rome since your study abroad time?
Yes, I actually was able to come back to Rome. I went to Trevi Fountain while I was studying abroad there, and I did throw the coins in. So the legend is true, at least for 2 out of 3 so far. I'm not married yet, but I have returned to Rome, and I have fallen in love there. So yeah, I've been back, and I actually was able to have my mom join me, and she never left North America either. So we went to Rome, and we went to Trastevere, a neighborhood where I lived when I studied abroad there. And I got to rewalk all my favorite sites and share those memories with my mom, which was pretty special. So yes, I've been back to Rome, and then hopefully want to come back again.
If you were to come back for one day, how would you spend it? Tough one, huh?
It's very tough. I mean, there's so many of my favorite spots that I would have to go back to. I mean, like I mentioned, like I love Trastevere. It's got a special place in my heart, being that I live there, and walk those streets to go to AUR and go to class, and then obviously have to come back to the Colosseum and the Roman Forum and the Pantheon, like all these breathtaking, iconic spots. I have to go back to the Trevi Fountain. I need to throw some coins in there so I can make sure I come back another time. So those are definitely some of those places that I would have to spend my time. There's also an ice bar in Rome that I really loved. So I would want to go back to the ice bar where you put on the jacket and you sit on blocks of ice, and they give you drinks and an ice mug. So that was also one of my favorite highlights. And then Scholars, we would go there pretty often, and we'd sing karaoke, and they have a bunch of American universities flags there. So it's a very international spot. So I love Scholars. Highly recommend it to anyone at AUR.
And how do you cope with Texas? Because you're very much into cold and ice.
Oh, I am done with the cold and ice. I love Texas. It's nice and warm. Don't have to worry about shoveling snow, and I can wear shorts year round. So there's a special place in Texas for me.
Amen. Well, Zach, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us, and do let us know if you come to Rome, because we always are very pleased to if alumni come back and visit. You'll always have a home in Rome at AUR.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I love staying in contact with you guys, and you guys have a special place in my heart for kind of giving me the professional and career growth. And I wouldn't be where I am today without the help of AUR and just the opportunity for my university to send me there. So I'm very thankful and blessed for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.